This is Coach's Corner.
Welcome, Commodore fans, to Coach's Corner, a production of Gulf Coast State College. Today, Coach Austin Mefford is sitting in for Coach Scovel, so Coach had to do some other things, so welcome, Coach.
Thank you.
So, Lady Commodores right now come in with an overall record of 7-0. Ranked number 1 in the state coaches poll, ranked number 1 in the NJCAA national poll. So picked up 3 wins this past week. As Coach Scovel and I have talked about several times, by the time y'all finish the games this week, you'll be played 5 nationally ranked teams in November. And Coach and I talked a little bit about, normally a lot of coaches will schedule easy games in November and then nationally ranked teams. But y'all have opened and continue to play nationally ranked teams.
Yeah, it's been a mixture. When you go out and win a national championship, it was very hard to get teams to play us this year, and that was kind of a mixture. We had to take what we could get, and some of it's by circumstances. Like we went to Northwest Florida, and you agree to play in their classic. You don't know who you're going to play when you agree to play in it, and it happened to be 2 nationally ranked teams, which was good for us. But it's always good to go play some good competition, especially the teams in Florida that you're going to get to see in the state tournament and have to beat to get to the national tournament.
So Tuesday night, we opened, our first home opener was against LB Wallace, and Lady Commodores defeated them 85-38. Won all 4 quarters, 26-11, 26-10, 15-9, and 18-8. And a lot of Lady Commodores getting minutes that night.
Yeah, it was a good opportunity for us to get a lot of people minutes. Had some freshmen. Shayla Bennett stepped up, played excellent, had 27, 28 points. We got to work on a lot of things. It was a game, we won pretty easily, but we got to focus on a lot of things, especially defensively, and key in on some areas that we needed to work on to prepare us for the Panhandle schedule.
So if we look at double figure scoring, Shayla Bennett came off the bench and led all Lady Commodores with 27 points. She was 6 of 8 from the three-point line, 3 for 3 from the free throw line, and 9 of 12 from the floor, and played 30 minutes. So nice, come off the bench.
She showed signs of why she was highly recruited out of high school and signed with the University of North Carolina, and showed signs of what she can do in the future for us.
And so she played well, shot the ball well, came out with confidence for a freshman to come in at home. Really played nice. If we go back up at the top of it, Taylor with 15, O'Neill with 11, and Castro with 11. And some of those, you kind of expect those. Now, those are not playing as many minutes because that game was over with early in that ball game.
Yeah, it was a good opportunity to get everybody minutes, and those starters and their limited time did what they are expected to do. They got their points, got their rebounds, their steals, did their role, and got some other people the opportunity to play and get some minutes and some experience.
So then we traveled over to Northwest Florida. And Lady Commodore fans, if you've never been in the arena, it's an arena. It's a nice facility. Freestanding goals always affects us. And the nice thing about playing games over there early is it gives the Lady Commodores a chance to get used to those freestanding goals and fans behind the goals.
Well, we talk about scheduling. That's more of an important game to schedule to play over there in a classic, so when we go play Northwest during the season, we've been in the gym, shot on them goals, got used to the background, and you can see in our game and the men's game, it took effect. People didn't shoot the ball very well, other than the teams that are used to playing in an environment like that.
So Lady Commodores won all 4 quarters in this game, 175-51 against Central Florida, which is a nationally ranked team. So it was 15-12, 21-8, 22-16, and 17-15 for totals of 75-51 against Central Florida, which is a nationally ranked team, Coach.
Central Florida came into the game on Wednesday night, beating Eastern Florida, scoring 89 points. So their offense they were averaging over 70 a game, and we did a good job defensively holding them to 51. Kind of blew the game open in the second quarter. We went about a 7-8 minute span, held them to 2 points, and that's when we blew our lead up and kind of took control of the game at that point.
Bennett comes off the bench again, giving Lady Commodores 18 points from the bench, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, 2 of 13 from the three-point line, and 5 of 18 from the floor, 29 minutes of playing. So another nice outing for Bennett that night.
Yeah, she played a lot of minutes that game. Central Florida kind of played us in a 2-3 matchup zone, and we shot a lot of three-pointers that way, a lot of driving, trying to kick to the shooters, getting shots, and that's her game right there, spotting up, shooting threes. So she got a lot of minutes and scored some points and got to the line and got some free throws too.
So then if we go back, Castro with a double-double that night. She had 13 points and 12 rebounds, but we kind of expect that out of her every night.
Yeah, that's the expectation of Maria, and she did a good job, especially against that zone, going to the boards, getting inside, because you can't block out as well from a zone. So we took advantage of that, not as well as we could have, but we did all right with that.
So O'Neal with 13 points and Dunlap with 10 off the bench. So now, we talked a little bit about the Lady Commodores were 6 of 33 from three-point line from 18.2%. Freestanding goals?
That's definitely getting used to the environment, and part of that was in the first half. We were very just passive, standing around wanting to shoot. In the second half, we looked to attack more and create, and that helped. But yes, the environment definitely played an impact on it.
Now, one of the nice things about it is the Lady Commodores were 19 of 23 from the free throw line for 82.6%. Now that's an improvement.
That's wonderful. We haven't heard that a lot lately.
But they did do that. 25 of 87 for 28.7%. But the old saying is, it's better to have an ugly win than a pretty loss.
No doubt about it.
So Lady Commodores defeat Central Florida 75-51, and then the next day they traveled back over and played Daytona State, defeated Daytona State 91-53, won all four quarters again, 28-13, 15-14, 27-15, and 21-11. So another nationally ranked team.
This was probably our best altogether game of the season. We came and played Gulf Coast basketball, got up and down the floor, defended, played really well, had a wide variety of scoring. Again, Shayla Bennett scored. Shaterick O'Neal kind of hopefully got her some confidence, had I think 17 points, played very well. Just a solid, well-rounded win.
So you're right. O'Neal led all scorers with 17. If we go back, Bennett with 14. We had Taylor with 14, and Dunlap comes off the bench for 15. So not bad numbers for those two off the bench, 15, 29 points.
No, both freshmen too, getting some experience. Finally, I think they're learning their role and getting used to the speed of Panhandle basketball and Florida basketball, and they're getting there where hopefully they can contribute come conference time.
So that's the nice thing about getting a lot of playing time, because you never know an injury, because we have two injuries or injured players that's affected how the Lady Commodores are doing it. So all these folks coming off the bench playing well is a bonus when it comes March.
Yes, definitely. One play away. You never know. I mean, we've seen it this year and felt the effects of it. And getting used to it now, you never know what's going to happen.
If we look at the shooting, 12 of 17 for 70.6% from the free throw line, 7 of 17 for 41.2%. From the three-point line, and 36 of 77 for 46.8%. So they did improve from the first night to the second night.
Yeah, I had the whole game to play in that gym and had another hour to warm up before the game. So just a little more comfortable in the environment and got some confidence from a few of them from scoring Tuesday and Friday.
So now we're going to travel up to Rome, Georgia, and you'll play Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then you'll play Saturday at noon. So what's the travel arrangements? Thanksgiving's in here, Coach.
Well, we're going to celebrate our Thanksgiving on Wednesday, have our meal on Wednesday, and then Thursday we'll travel up to Rome and practice Thursday evening there, and wake up Friday morning, have a little shoot around, and play Georgia Highlands Friday night.
So, and you will play them, ranked number 22 in the country right now. That's the fifth nationally ranked team this month.
It'll be the second team. We played them last year in the national tournament out in Texas, and they got some returners from that team. We saw them early in the year. They played at Walter State in the same tournament, but they were missing several key pieces that were injured that should be back. They played Chipola this past weekend, played them to, I think, 22 points or so. They're going to be tough, hard-nosed, scrappy, have some athletic people, get after you. It'll be a challenge.
So And you're right. We opened against them in the national tournament, and that was probably the hardest game we had in that entire tournament.
Definitely, by far. It was the closest game, I think, by the score, maybe. But they play hard and get after you and play every year almost, so they know you and you know them, and it's just going to be a battle.
So then we'll play at noon Eastern on Saturday. So what do we know about the team we're going to play there, Coach?
We got a short turnaround, play Roan State, who we played up at Walter State. They're scrappy, got some shooters, can shoot the ball. Played us tough it was a close game for 15 minutes going in up there. We were only up 2 points after the first quarter. Kind of blew it open late in the second and played well in the second half. But they're tough. They'll get after you, and they can shoot if you leave them open.
So they can play well. If we take a little bit of time and look at the Panhandle Conference, Chipola right now 4-0. Their big win out of those 4 games was a Trinity Valley victory, 78-70. Have you seen Chipola play?
Early in the year in Jamborees, they've got a lot of pieces, got post players, guards are excellent. They're going to be tough. They're going to compete for a national title and be right there in the mix of things.
So Northwest Florida 5-1, so obviously you got a chance to see Northwest Florida play.
Yeah, Northwest is tough. They beat Central Florida and Daytona, probably the 2 top teams in the mid this week as well, and they're going to be competitive as always. You never can overlook Northwest. They kind of, as the season goes on, every year get better and better. At the beginning of the year, people don't think sometimes they're going to be as good, but they're always in the mix of it at the state tournament. So
now Pensacola State 3-0 right now, 2 victories, 100+ points a night.
Pensacola is much improved. Penny's got her own players in there now, and they're scoring. They're very small, but scrappy, quick, fast, can score. They're going to be much improved from the last couple of years.
And then we look over at Tallahassee, 6-1, and they've had some 100+ point games so far.
Yeah, if you look on paper, Tallahassee probably has maybe the best team in the conference on paper. Now they're going to get after you, press you, jump, run, trap. Very athletic, got size. They got all the pieces they need. They're going to be competitive too and very tough to beat. They had a little slip up against Santa Fe this week, but they're going to be in the mix of things.
So, and if we look down the Region 8 State Coaches Poll, Gulf Coast ranked 1, Chipola 2, Tallahassee 3, Palm Beach State 4, Pensacola State 5, St. Petersburg 6, Northwest Florida is 7, Broward is 8, and we have a tie for 9th, Daytona State and Eastern Florida State. So rounds out Region 8's top 10 coaches poll. So before we jump out of there, Coach, what's it like to be an assistant coach for Coach Scovel?
Well, it's great. Those two, you learn something every day. I mean, it's not just basketball. Coach Hicks and Coach Scovel, it's about people. You learn how to deal with people, how to read people, and it's just everything. Every day it's something new, and everything that you can come up with, they've been through, done, already experienced, and know how to deal with. And that's just something, as a young coach, it's great to be able to see how they handle it. And both of them, Coach Hicks can teach you anything from shooting to dealing with people to bird hunting. Coach Scovel, and she's learned it all too and knows from Coach Hicks, and it's just a wonderful experience and great learning opportunity.
So and for a young coach trying to move up in their career, it has to be a golden opportunity. So,
yes.
So for Coach Mefford, I'm James Baxley. We'll be right back, Commodore fans, with Coach Jay Powell and talk about how the men did this past week. Welcome back, Commodore fans. Let's talk Commodore basketball now and how the Commodores did this past week, Coach. And then we'll talk about what's coming up. So Commodores right now 5-2 overall, ranked number 7 in the state coaches poll. We played L.B. Wallace to an overtime loss of 82-81. So let's talk about L.B. Wallace a little bit, Coach.
On Tuesday night, we'd started off the season very strong at 4-0, and going into Tuesday night, I knew we had 3 games, and we were coming off getting back for a trip late Saturday night. So we had a good little practice Monday, but not a great practice. And Tuesday, the men were not defensively. Offensively, we scored enough points, but defensively, we were not where we needed to be to win the game. The men competed and they played hard, But there's more than just giving effort. You have to mentally and emotionally be dialed in defensively, and we weren't quite there Tuesday night. Possibly a little bit of the guys got a little overconfident. I'm not for sure about that. We try to guard against that. But at the end of the day, LB Wallace made some nice plays, including the final play of the game where final scoring play of the game where they were down by 1 and came down and made 2 free throws to beat us with about 4.5 seconds left. So a nice play by that man. But even that play was an example of they were isolated 15 feet from the hoop and were able to penetrate right by our man and draw the foul and go to the line to go up on us late. So we weren't where we wanted to be Tuesday night, and we paid the price. We lost a game that potentially we could have won, and that was tough. That hurt the guys, and it hurt me.
It looked like they played a little bit on their heels, Coach. They were just.
That's probably a fair way to assess it. A little bit on the heels, possibly not really determined. Not just totally bearing down, if I could use that term, and determined to get stops, whether it be on their heels because of fear. You can be on your heels because of being a little lazy. You can be on your heels because you're not quite prepared. Several reasons you can be on your heels, so that might be true, but we just weren't totally dialed in that we're going to get stops to win this basketball game. And so for a defensive-minded guy like myself, that was that hurt, and that was discouraging.
So Landarius Horton for them with 22, 50% from three-point line. He really played well for Wallace to pick up their first victory of the season.
Yeah, he did a good job. He was averaging just under 16 points a game coming into the game. We knew he was a key for them. He had 19 points in the first half, and that definitely was a tie game at halftime. Then we lose by 1 in overtime. So those 19 points that he was allowed to get by a couple of our guards, that really put us behind the 8 ball and made it tough for us in the second half and in overtime.
And Jeremy Harris with 17, Murphy with 14, Van Johnson with 20. Scoring-wise, not outing for those men.
They did fine. All 3 of those men, as much as they might have possibly helped us on the offensive end because of their total points, other than Van, the other 2 men did not shoot the ball well at all. And defensively, the man that you mentioned that had 22 points, 19 in the first half, Dashane started on him, and then the last play of the game where they just drove right by us from 15 feet, that was Jeremy on him there in overtime that allowed them to get the win. So as I mentioned, offensively we were fine that night, defensively we weren't. So we got back in the gym Wednesday and Thursday and really competed on the defensive end, especially guarding the basketball, trying to do that without fouling, trying to do that without allowing men to get to the rim. And both nights this weekend, Friday and Saturday, the men did a better job defensively.
One last thing on the Wallace game. The old saying is whoever shoots better from the free throw line in a close game usually wins. And in that case, it was 60% to 57.1, because a couple more free throws and we'd have been there. Plus, I don't know if you watched the game, that last free throw shot we were shooting in regulation was a lane violation. We missed that shot, and the video plainly showed they were in the lane, and the shot was still resting here. So, but let's move on. Traveled over to Northwest Florida to play San Jac Central. Lost 69-48, but before we talk about that, they gave Northwest Florida their only loss of the season the following night.
San Jac's a great program. They've won 3 or 4 national championships in their history. A team from Texas is not going to come over and play 2 Panhandle Conference schools unless they know they have a very fine ball club. And they defended very well. Then they packed it in, and our perimeter shooters just weren't up to par. They were not as good Friday as they're going to have to be. and they weren't as good as they were on Saturday. The men came back Saturday and shot the ball much better from the field, a little bit better from the three-point line. But defensively, we were much better. As you mentioned, we gave up 69 points, which might seem like a lot until you realize that coming into our game against San Jac, they were averaging 108 points a game. And they had played Midland College out of Texas, who has a couple national championships, and a couple other good junior colleges. So they're kind of an offensive juggernaut. And we were able to defend them much better than other people had. But at the same time, we went 1 of 21 from the three-point line. And a couple of men, 0 for 7, 0 for 6, and 21 three-pointers might be a few more than what we would want to shoot, but then all of a sudden you're down 13 points and they're packing it in and you're wide open. And some of those guys that had consistently made shots for us just continued to not make shots. A couple of theories that I've come up with, no proven facts. Possibly we were playing defense so much harder that our legs felt a little different. Possibly being in the arena there at Northwest Florida State with a different depth perception and a different kind of just structure to their facility. Possibly that negatively impacted our shooting, but those would just be excuses. We didn't shoot the ball well enough to win. We had been averaging in the 80s, and when you go out and score 48, you're not going to be successful.
So now, Lady Commodore shooting the first night was down. Commodores were down 2, like you said, 1 of 21. You could go down 0 of 1, 1 of 2, 0 of 2, 0 of 4, 0 of 3, 0 of 7, 0 of 1. Those goals, those freestanding goals and fans behind those goals does affect the shooter. I know, Coach, you don't want to say any excuses, but the nice thing about playing over there is the more we play in that building, because we have to go play Northwest Florida in the conference season in that building. And so the Commodores came up a little short. They came back the next day, defeated Spartanburg Methodist 84-77. So shot 23% from three-point line, 91.7 from the free throw line, and 45% from the floor. So much better shooting the second night than the first night.
Yeah, three-pointers weren't up to where they had been. We had been just above 33% for the season going into last week through our first 4 games. So again, not as good as we would like, but still tremendously better than what it had been the day before. The free throw shooting was outstanding, 33 of 36, and probably 4 of those, 6 of those were in the last minute when they were fouling us. So they shot 23 or 24 free throws on their own. Spartanburg Methodist did, but the men had nice defense again. In the Spartanburg Methodist game, they had played Northwest Florida tight the night before, ended up losing by double digits, but it had been a nice game on Friday night against Northwest Florida. So to see the men, they're back against the wall after a couple of losses, to come out and continue to fight and find a way to win, because we were down 1 at halftime against Spartanburg Methodist, and there late in the game we were able to separate and do a nice job to win the game. Really want to mention in that game Josh Wade. After Friday night's game, Josh came up to me and said, "Coach, whoever the best player on the other team is, I want to guard him the rest of the season. Just put me on him." And Josh did a nice job, and he worked really hard. And while he might not have had 15 or 20 points, he made some big plays, rebounding the ball. He takes charges. He defends very, very well. So I was very proud of Josh and what he gave us as far as being tough and defensive-minded and actually doing things to help the team win, as opposed to doing things that maybe just look good on the stat sheet. So Josh deserves a lot of credit. After our loss Friday night, I told the men, I said, "Guys, we didn't shoot the ball well. I'm going to be here. I'm going to break down the film. I got to get stats in. I got to do the laundry for our uniforms." I said, "So you're free to come in and get some more shots up." And I don't know that I'd ever, I don't think I've ever made men come get shots up after a game. But one of the first times that I've even proposed that. And Josh Wade stayed, Van Johnson, Jeremy Harris stayed, and Dyshane Murphy and Will Robinson stayed a little bit. But really, Josh and Jeremy were the ones that put in some effort Friday night late after playing a tough game and getting shots up, and then they both stepped up Saturday and played well to help us win.
So Jeremy had 23, Van Johnson had 18, and Marshall with 13 far as points. But the thing I want to back up and talk about a little bit, Jeremy from the free throw line, these are all numbers, 8 of 8. Johnson, 5 of 5. Both Johnsons, that was Van, and then Cody Johnson went 7 of 7. And then you got to stop down, and Marshall 6 of 6, perfect from the free throw line.
That was very good. Dontavius had a very nice game, came up with some big buckets for us. It was by far Dontavius Marshall's best game of the season Saturday.
Now, we got to speed up, Coach. We got way behind. We're going to play this week at home, starting Friday. You have a little classic going on, and Central Georgia Tech will play Pensacola State at noon. And then the Commodores will play Albany Tech at 2 o'clock on Friday, day after Thanksgiving.
That's right.
So what do we know quickly about Albany Tech?
Albany Tech, they're aggressive and they're quick. They'll 2-2-1 press in the full court against us. They play fast break basketball. We're going to have to be ready to defend. We're going to have great transition defense, great defense on the ball. Again, like you mentioned, we play at 2 p.m. on Friday and 2 p.m. on Saturday. On Saturday, it is against Central Georgia Tech, and they're also a team. They've got, but with Central Georgia Tech, they do have a nice post player that can do some good stuff. So we're going to have to be ready to play. As always, thanks to visit PanamaCityBeach.com for assisting us in the classics, and they've been very, very supportive of us over the years. But it's just going to be a good day, after everybody's able to eat their turkey and dressing and their ham on Thursday. We're going to be able to come and play some good basketball. The conference rival, Pensacola, plays at noon each day. So a great way to kind of get out of the house for a couple hours on Friday and Saturday afternoon.
So quickly through the Panhandle Conference, Chipola right now 6-1, Northwest Florida State 6-1. Pensacola State 3-3 overall, and Tallahassee is the only unbeaten team in the conference right now at 7-0. So Commodore fans, come out after Thanksgiving, Friday and Saturday. You can see Pensacola play at noon on Friday, and you can see the Commodores play at 2 o'clock, and then you'll see Pensacola play the other team at noon on Saturday, and then Commodores will play again at 2. So come out and support the Commodores. And so for Coach Jay Powell, I'm James Baxley. Thanks for watching, Commodore fans, and we'll see you next time on the Commodore Sports Network.
This has been Coach's Corner with your host, James Baxley.